Hi everybody, today we are going to be going over the Neutron Launchpad updates as of July 22nd, 2025. So, as we can see, we recently received an image of the Neutron launch site and its upgrades. Here's just a quick comparison going over the past year or so, just to show the immense changes between the pad since then and now. So this is what the pad looked like in July of 2024, about a year ago. There wasn't much, but if we look close, we can see we had the high pressure gas farm, which was right here. We have the main water tower for the launch pad suppression system, and we had here the tower base and the flame bucket. So this is where the water and the flames will go after launch. So here's the updated photo of the pad. Just looking close, the main components of this pad, we see the CH4 tank farm over here, CH4 flare stack. We have the second stage / alternate test stand, which we won't be touching on in today's video as there's not much information on that. The main pad, the flame diverter, part of the flame bucket, the gas bunker. We have the liquid oxygen farm and the LN2 farm. So those will be the main things that we go over during this video, except for the second stage / testing pad, as we don't know much information on that right now. So just to start with for the video, I want to go over what a vaporizer is. So these are vaporizers here. You'll see a lot of them throughout the video. And basically how they work is a liquid cryogenic goes inside the vaporizer, and there's hundreds of these little pipes, and it basically just zigzags around until it comes out as a gas. And the way it becomes a gas is you have this main pipe here and these long fins extending from each pipe, and basically the heat from the atmosphere will heat these up, causing the cryogenic inside to heat up and in turn turn into a gas. So it happens over hundreds of these pipes, but this is just a little diagram here showing kind of how it works. So let's get into it. So we're going to start off with the CH4 methane tank farm. So over here on the left, as I said, this is a flare stack. And basically what happens here is on a launch vehicle, rather than venting the methane into the atmosphere, because it's highly flammable, if a little spark happens, the whole launch site could explode. So rather than just venting it overboard and hoping it doesn't explode, they actually capture the gaseous methane, and they send it here where they controllably burn it to make sure it doesn't ignite anywhere on the pad except for where they want it to, and that's kind of how you dispose of it. So this is kind of the pipe system on how it goes from the pad to the rocket. So I'll show you a better view in a second, but basically you start over here. This obviously connects to the pad, and it comes back through here, and the pipe is hidden, but there's other shots that show it. And basically it goes through these long barrels. Now there's two of them. I'm not exactly sure what they do, but if I had to guess, they work kind of like a vaporizer, making sure that it's a gas for burning it. It comes through here, enters the base here, and it doesn't burn until it's up here. So yeah, this is that long view. So the outlet pipe is right here, and it comes from this side here, which is the CH4 QD, and it comes down here through all the piping and returns back here. There's also a split off from this pad here that connects into the pipe. That's for when they'll do future testing at this pad. So coming back over here, we have the main liquid CH4 tanks. These two big white tanks, they store all the CH4 in the tank farm that can be used for testing, launch, anything like that. Right next to them, we have the liquid CH4 to gaseous CH4 vaporizers. So that's what I talked about earlier. And basically what happens is they take liquid from this and they send it over here into these, and in here it turns into a gas, and then from that they take that gas and they can either send it out to the launch pad to be used to pressurize the vehicle, or they send it out and it goes back into the tank to keep the tank pressurized. So moving on here, right here, it's kind of hard to tell, but these are the pumps. This pumps the liquid CH4 from the tanks it goes through here and comes out and goes down to the pad. So if we look a little closer, it's kind of hard to tell, but you've got a pump here and a pump here, and basically what happens is this pipe here comes through here, enters here, and it splits off fuel into here. From there it comes out and meets up at this pipe here, which sends it out to the pad. So this is kind of the whole tank farm and how it works. So on a launch day, what you'll normally see is you'll start off by seeing the activation of the flare stack, and then you'll begin to see venting over here from the vaporizers. And as they begin to wake the tank farm up, they'll slowly begin to activate the pumps, and they'll trickle liquid CH4 through the pipes to help cool the pipes down and get them ready for liquids to be transported through. And as they're transported through, you will see a lot of burning coming from the CH4 flare stack, indicating that they're cooling those pipes down. Now the reason they have to cool these pipes down is because if they send the liquid through just like that, it's all going to instantly turn into a gas, and if they can't get rid of that through the flare stack very fast, it's all just going to explode. They also want to cool down the pipes just to make sure that it's an easier loading process. So now we're going to jump over to the liquid oxygen side of the farm over here and the LN2 side of the farm right here. So this is the main liquid oxygen farm. These are the main components of it. Right here we have the main liquid oxygen tanks, these two big white tanks again. They store all the liquid oxygen. Right down here we have pumps again. They work the exact same as the CH4 pumps. You've got two pump sections right here. The liquid comes down here, enters into them, and then they tap off through here, jump on a pipe, from which they come right down here to the pad. So these are those vaporizers again. Like I said, they send liquids through here, and then from that they can either take it and put it back into the tanks to help pressurize, or they can take it and send it to the pad for pressurization of the launch vehicle and other systems. Now if we look over here, we have a gaseous oxygen slash liquid oxygen dump pool, and basically when we look back at the CH4 farm, you had that massive flare stack where they would burn the liquid oxygen. Now they don't need to burn the liquid oxygen here, so what they do is they collect it and they just dump it into this little pool to vent off by itself over here. So as we look back up here to the liquid nitrogen farm, we'll go into more depth on how this works, but these are the main liquid nitrogen tanks. They store liquid nitrogen. Here we have liquid nitrogen vaporizers, so once again, liquid nitrogen comes out here, and from there comes out gaseous nitrogen. Now if we look here, we have gaseous nitrogen storage containers. So basically from this, the gaseous nitrogen enters these containers, and this is a high pressure storage containers. So they store these at really like thousands of PSIs, and from that they can use that around the pad. So when we look more in depth here, so this is kind of a more in-depth view on how the liquid oxygen systems work. So the LOX comes off here through these pipes through an expansion loop, which enters right here, where you have your two pumps here, which pump liquid oxygen here, and the liquid oxygen comes down here. It enters the pad here. From there, there's a split off. This goes up to the QD, and this, it splits off through here, and it actually goes all the way over here, which connects to the stage 2 test stand. Now if we look at the liquid nitrogen system, we once again have these three main liquid nitrogen tanks, and from there they supply liquid nitrogen to these three vaporizers, which turn the liquid nitrogen into gaseous nitrogen, which then goes into all these little cylinders, which is right here, and then from there that liquid nitrogen is used throughout the pad at the liquid oxygen farm. It's used in the gaseous bunker, it's used at the pad, it's used at the CH4 farm. It'll also be used here at the water tower. Many different applications for liquid nitrogen. It's one of the most common commodities you'll see at any rocket launch pad. We're going to go quickly into the pad updates. There's not too much, well, there's a big update obviously, but the pad, there's not too much visually that we can see just yet. But if we look here, starting off we have our four main clamps here. These will hold down the vehicle before liftoff. Then we have this big new flame diverter. So basically on launch, the engines here will fire down and the flames will come out here, and this kind of just diverts the flames away from the pad, keeps the pad a little bit cleaner, and also will provide sick liftoff shots because you won't see any, well, you'll see smoke but not much smoke around the pad. Next up, we have these little water deluge features here, and basically how these work is they spray water all over the pad, and how they do that is they send water up these tubes, and then the water hits this big plate on top, which is filled in, causing the water to all spray out. There's different levels of this just to for more even share of water among the pad. So this is at SpaceX's LC-39A, and this is the same system. So they send water up these pipes, and they hit this flat plate, which causes the water to spray out here. So this is kind of what you'll see on the Neutron pad. There's actually the same amount on the Neutron of these water sticks per se on the Neutron pad, but on each side of the pad, 2 of them are shorter at around this height here. So it'll just for an even water spread on the pad. So yeah, that is kind of the main updates to the pad. We should see liquid CH4BQD here, which will provide methane to the booster and the second stage, and over here we'll have our LOX BQD, and that's kind of the main parts of the pad. So thanks for watching, everybody. If you have any questions or you want a more in-depth video on a specific part of the pad, please comment down below, and thanks for watching.